Kidnapped by Robert Louis Stevenson. Chapter 18. I Talk with Alan in the Wood of Lettermore. Part 2. I asked him whither we should flee, and he told me to go to the Lowlands. I was a little better inclined to go with him, for indeed I was growing impatient to get back and have the upper hand of my uncle. Besides, Alan made so sure there would be no question of justice in the matter that I began to be afraid he might be right. Of all deaths, I would truly like least to die by the gallows, and the picture of that uncanny instrument came into my head with extraordinary clearness, as I had once seen it engraved at the top of a peddler's ballad, and took away my appetite for courts of justice. "I'll chance it, Alan," said I. "I'll go with you." "But mind you," said Alan, "it's no small thing. Ye maun lie bare and hard, and brook many an empty belly. Your bed shall be in the moorcocks, and your life shall be like the hunted deer's, and ye shall sleep with your hand upon your weapons. Aye, man, ye shall taigle many a weary foot, or we get clear. I tell ye this at the start, for it's a life that I ken well, but if ye ask what other chance ye have, I answer, none. Either take to the heather with me, or else hang." "And that's a choice very easily made," said I, and we shook hands upon it. "And now let's take another peek at the redcoats," says Alan, and he led me to the northeastern fringe of the wood. Looking out between the trees, we could see a great side of mountain running down exceeding steep into the waters of the loch. It was a rough part, all hanging stone and heather, and big scrogs of birch wood, and away at the far end towards Ballachulish, little wee red soldiers were dipping up and down over hill and hoe, and growing smaller every minute. There was no cheering now, for I think they had other uses for what breath was left them, but they still stuck to the trail, and doubtless thought that we were close in front of them. Alan watched them, smiling to himself. "Aye," said he, "they'll be gay weary before they've got to the end of that employ. And so you and me, David, can sit down and eat a bite, and breathe a bit longer, and take a dram from my bottle. Then we'll strike for Ochorn, the house of my kinsman, James of the Glens, where I must get my clothes and my arms and money to carry us along. And then, David, we'll cry, 'Forth, fortune!' and take a cast among the heather." So we sat again and ate and drank in a place whence we could see the sun going down into a field of great, wild, and houseless mountains, such as I was now condemned to wander in with my companion. Partly as we so sat, and partly afterwards, on the way to Ochorn, each of us narrated his adventures, and I shall here set down so much of Alan's as seems either curious or needful. It appears he ran to the bulwarks as soon as the wave was past, saw me and lost me, and saw me again as I tumbled in the roost, and at last had one glimpse of me clinging on the yard. It was this that put him in some hope I would maybe get to land after all, and made him leave those clues and messages which he had brought me, for my sins, to that unlucky country of Appin. In the meanwhile, those still on the brig had got the skiff launched, and one or two were on board of her already, when there came a second wave greater than the first, and heaved the brig out of her place, and would certainly have sent her to the bottom had she not struck and caught on some projection of the reef. When she had struck first, it had been bows on, so that the stern had hitherto been lowest, but now her stern was thrown in the air, and the bows plunged under the sea, and with that the water began to pour into the forescuttle like the pouring of a mill dam. It took the color out of Alan's face even to tell what followed, for there were still two men lying impotent in their bunks, and these, seeing the water pour in, and thinking the ship had foundered, began to cry out aloud, and that with such harrowing cries that all who were on deck tumbled one after another into the skiff, and fell to their oars. They were not 200 yards away, when there came a third great sea, and at that the brig lifted clean over the reef, her canvas filled for a moment, and she seemed to sail in chase of them, but settling all the while, and presently she drew down and down, as if a hand was drawing her, and the sea closed over the Covenant of Dysart. Never a word they spoke as they pulled ashore, being stunned with the horror of that screaming, but they had scarce set foot upon the beach when Hoseason woke up, as if out of a muse, and bade them lay hands upon Alan. They hung back indeed, having little taste for the employment, but Hoseason was like a fiend, crying that Allen was alone, and that he had a great sum about him, that he had been the means of losing the brig and drowning all their comrades, and that here was both revenge and wealth upon a single cast. It was 7 against 1. In that part of the shore there was no rock that Allen could set his back to, and the sailors began to spread out and come behind him. "And then," said Allen, "the little man with the red head, I haven't a mind of the name that he's called." "Riach," said I. "Aye," said Allen, "Riach. Well, it was him that took up the clubs for me, asked the men if they weren't afeared of a judgment. And, says he, Dod, I'll put my back to the Highlandmen's myself. That's none such an entirely bad little man, yon little man with the red head," said Allen. "He has some spunks of decency." "Well," said I, "he was kind to me in his way." "And so he was to Allen," said he, "and by my troth, I found his way a very good one. But ye see, David, the loss of the ship and the cries of these poor lads sat very ill upon the man, and I'm thinking that would be the cause of it." "Well, I would think so," says I, "for he was as keen as any of the rest at the beginning. But how did Hoseason take it?" "It sticks in my mind that he would take it very ill," says Allen. "But the little man cried to me to run, and indeed I thought it was a good observe, and ran. The last that I saw, they were all in a knot upon the beach, like folk that were not agreeing very well together." "What do you mean by that?" said I. "Well, the fists were going," said Allen, "and I saw one man go down like a pair of bricks. But I thought it would be better no to wait. You see, there's a strip of Campbell's in that end of Mull, which is no good company for a gentleman like me. If it hadn't been for that, I would have waited and looked for ye myself, let alone giving a hand to the little man." It was droll how Allen dwelt on Mr. Riach's stature, for, to say the truth, the one was not much smaller than the other. "So," says he, continuing, "I set my best foot forward, and whenever I met in with any one I cried out that there was a wreck ashore. Man, they didna stop to fash with me. You should have seen them linking for the beach. And when they got there, they found they had had the pleasure of a run, which is aye good for a Campbell. I'm thinking it was a judgment on the clan that the brig went down in the lump and didna break. But it was a very unlucky thing for you, that same. For if any wreck had come ashore, they would have hunted high and low, and would soon have found ye."